Hey guys, welcome to Project 2, GIS 105, and we're going to be making a topographic map of an area of your choice, your interest. I'm going to run through a demonstration here. Map I'm going to make is going to be a trail map of Big Ridge State Park. So let's get started. I'm going to begin by going to the national map, the download site. I just Googled T&M download, so let's go there. I'm going to work with 7.5 minute indices. These are basically quad map size things. What I'm interested in over here on the left hand side is topo map data and topo style sheet. And I'm going to tell it where I'm interested in. I'm interested in it'll now go find that area. There's actually a quad called Big Ridge Park. Okay. And if I click find products, I can click here, I can click here. It's going to download whatever products I have highlighted over here, I've selected. So I'm going to find products. And here it is. It is, this is the files that I can get. If I want to know exactly how big it's going to be, this shows me the footprint. Here's a thumbnail. This is an image of what it's going to look like. I can zoom to that thumbnail and get a picture of what I'm going to be seeing. I can look up the metadata and I can download it. Now I've already downloaded this, so I'm going to pause this thing, bring up ArcMap, and load it in. Okay, I'm trying to speed this video up a bit for you so you don't have to watch all the downloads and things. So here's my map. And I've already run through this once, so you see a bunch of files on the left, but I've got them all turned off now, and so we'll just go through this as if I'm doing it for the first time. First thing I did, though, is I went to my layers and under my properties. Before I added anything into it, I went and I used projected coordinate systems, and I scrolled down to something called UTM. I scrolled down to NAT83, and I scrolled down to UTM zone 17N, and you can see it gives you all this information. I set this because it's a very good projection for what I'm going to be doing. Okay, so I set that to begin with. Every map, every layer I bring in will automatically be reprojected to that plane. And the reason I did that is here's how the United States is broken down using the UTM grid. So you can see East Tennessee fits into zone 17. This is 17N because it's north of the equator. If you were doing a project in Utah, UTM zone 12 would be good. I could have used Tennessee State Plain. That would have been pretty good, but this is actually pretty good since I'm focusing in on East Tennessee. So that's what I did. First thing I did was after I downloaded it, I moved it over to my folder systems and so forth. And you can see here the way I've set this up is, and this is you use your own folder system, however, but I set mine up to where everything is in GIS 105 and everything is in a subfolder called Project 2. And within that, I've created several folders. These are my topo files. I put them in a subfolder I called topo, and you'll see I've got two folders in there. I'll show you why in a minute. But here's the Big Ridge folder, and the file I'm going to load to begin with is the elevation contour.shape file. Okay, I would click add, but I've actually already got it. So I'm going to bring this in, and I've cleaned up the symbology just a little bit and some things like that. I've changed the name on it here and a few things like that. You'll see there's some data missing, so that's why I had to go back to the national map, and I actually had to go back to, let me show you that on here. I had to go back to the quad right above it, which is White Hollow, and I downloaded the same kind of information for White Hollow. So I just changed this to White Hollow, downloaded it. When I did that, then I created a folder called White Hollow, and all the same information is in there. So I added the contour shape file for White Hollow, when I did that, I've actually already done it, so I'm just going to turn that one on next. And you can see now I've got a nice contour effect. The thing I don't have yet is I don't know where Big Ridge State Park is. I don't have any sort of boundary here. So what I did for that is I went and I Googled Tennessee State Park Boundaries GIS Shapefile Download. I put in as many buzzwords as I could think of, and here's the first site that popped up. When you click on that, I've already got it loaded. When you click on that, you get a map of all the state park boundaries in the state of Tennessee, and you can read about it if you want. But if you download that map, which I've already done, then you can bring it in to ArcGIS, copy it, move it to a correct folder. I put it in a folder called Parks. If you look in here, I put it in a folder called Parks, and there's that shapefile. I've already added it to this map, so I'm just going to turn that layer on, and you can see there it is. I set the symbology so I'd have a nice bold outline and put it in here where I can see it. Now I can see the area I'm interested in working in. I can zoom into that area a little bit and see what's going on. At this point, I can add all kinds of layers that came in that package from the national map. So for instance, one thing I'm definitely interested in are streams. So if I go back to the topo and I go to Big Ridge, there's a file called flowline. Okay, and when I add that, and I've already added it, you can see the streams pop up. I've set the symbology already. I've made the streamlines the right color. I've made them a little thicker so I can see it. I also have to do this for White Hollow. I just happen to pick a park that's right on the middle of two quad sheets. So I'm going to do the same thing for White Hollow. And there that is. There's also a file in there called Water Body that I loaded. You see when I load it, there it is. Okay, I'm building a pretty nice little map. One little trick over here on the left is if your flow line happens to be above the water body, the flow lines show up. This is what the streams would look like before they built Norris Dam and flooded everything. But if you keep your water body above flow line, then those flow lines underneath the lake are hidden. At this point, there are a lot of other files I can load. These are all in those same folders. I can add roads. Oh, here are the roads. Roads added here. Not a lot of roads out here because this is all just forest and hiking trails. Okay. One thing I like to add is a file in there that's called derived names. You see these little points pick up, and if you turn on the labels, notice I've got labels on. There they are off. If you turn on the labels, it just adds a little information in your map so you can see in this area I'm interested in. There's a couple of cemeteries. This big long ridge is called Pinnacle Ridge. Some of these hollows are labeled. There's Lone Mountain over here. Some of the islands in the lake are labeled and so forth. So I like that layer. You can add that. One layer that adds a lot to a topo map are your buildings. If you go back to the national map, let's return to search. Look, there's one here that says structures. That's not as good as it sounds because that is mostly dots and it's mostly school buildings, hospitals, those kinds of buildings. So what I've done is I went to TNGIS. You can just Google TNGIS and it'll take you to this site. You want to go to data collections and you want to scroll down to something called LiDAR. And then you scroll down, what you're looking for is something called building footprints. Here's building footprints for Middle West Tennessee. Here's building footprints for East Tennessee. That sounds pretty good and so forth. So I'm going to go with this one. When I download this file, I'll have my building footprints. Again, I've already done all this. So here are my East Tennessee building footprints. I'm going to add that right now. And you can see all these little dots here are the building footprints. If you zoom in on them, you'll see that these actually give you the shape more or less, of the buildings. And you can set your symbology however. You can make this a little darker so you can see them and so forth. So there are my buildings. I think that adds a lot to your maps. Okay. Turns out though that where most of my trails are going to be, I really don't have any buildings. It's sort of a natural area, and that's kind of nice because that's where I would just as soon do my hiking. But that TNGIS site is a good site if you're looking for building footprints in Tennessee. If you're going to choose something outside the state, then you're going to have to just Google and see what you can find. Okay, at this point, the one thing I don't have yet are my trails. The nice thing is, if you go back to the TNM topo sheets that you downloaded, there is a state trail file that you can find if you Google it. But it turns out that these topo things also have a thing called trail segment. So you can add this trail segment thing. Again, I've already done it, so I'm just going to turn it on. And I had to get the white hollow one. I'm going to turn it on. And here you can see I've got different trails in here. I've actually got them labeled already. I'm going to turn my labels off at this point. Don't have that one labeled. So now my trails are on there. Now these trails look a little different because I've already done some work on the symbology, and we'll come back to that in just a minute. But at this point, I'm ready to go to layout view, I think. I'm going to zoom out here a bit so we can see it. Now I've already done some work on layout view. You guys have already made one map, so I'm not going to show you every single step. But you can see that I've set it to landscape, because I think that's going to show this area the best. I can zoom in here on the area I'm interested in so we can see it better. I can center it a little bit better. I can probably zoom in here one more time. Center that and try to maximize the area I'm interested in so that you can see it. Okay, and you can see I've already I've inserted my title and worked on the symbology a bit. I've inserted my map credits down here. I've inserted my north arrow. I've inserted a scale bar, and I've inserted my legend. Okay, and one thing I would show you on the legend that I did, if I click on it and do properties just for this legend, I decided what items I wanted in here. When you first pull it up, there'll be a lot in it. You can use this to move them out of there. So I just picked these. The other thing I did is I don't need to show my title. I don't really need a title. I think it's apparent what it is. Under the items, I always click only show classes that are visible in the current map segment. Otherwise, you'll get things in your legend that you can't even see in your map. If you want more than one column, you can fix that here and so forth. Put it in 2 columns, just see what that looks like. I don't know if it'll matter. Well, it looks like it stayed in 1 column. But the main thing I did on this is I wanted my symbology to show the different trails. And the way I do that is I come over here to the trail segment, and I'm going to go to properties. I'm going to go to properties. And when you first get this, the default value is features, and you get this single line, that's it. Okay, if I set it like that, all my maps are going to, my trails are going to look the same, and this is all I've got on my thing, so on my legend. So I want to, under the properties for this layer over here, I'm going to go to categories like we did on our other thing. I don't need all other values. And what I'm interested in is there's a layer, there's a field in here called name. That's going to be the name of my trails. If I add that, you can see now I've got this. And I've got, each trail has its own symbology. So I can click OK. Now you can see each trail is listed over here in my legend, and they should also be showing up in here. They're a little hard to see in this layout view. If you want to zoom in, you can see them a little bit better. Right here they are. So the best thing to do there is work on your symbology some. Since this map is really about trails, I want to make sure my trails show up. So I'm gonna change this to 2.5, make it nice and thick. I'll leave this red. I'm going to scroll down here, though. For trails, I typically like a dashed line. I think I'm just going to go with this. And again, I need a color that's going to show up. Let's go with, we'll go with this red, and let's make it, I'm going to make this a 2.5. Once I change this symbol, everything here reverts back to default. Let's put this in here now and see what happens. So now I can see that trail pretty clearly, and you can see that it also fixes it over here. So I'm going to do just a couple minutes, play with some of my symbology, and then I'll come back. Okay, so I've played around a little bit with some of my symbology. I'm trying to make it large enough where I can see the actual trails. Another thing I can do, if I want to, is I can come over here and label these features, and then they'll actually put some trail names on here. Okay, I can go in here under properties for this layer, and I can go to labels, and I can change the font. I can change where these labels were placed, how they're placed, things like this. Play around with that a little bit, get it the way you like it. But that might be something else I might want to do on this map in addition to my legend. And so at this point, we pretty much have our map elements. We have our legend. I might clean this up some more. I might do some different things with it. But I've got all the essential map elements. I've got a reasonable map. I might want to play with my symbology a little bit more to make sure that those trails really stand out and are visible. But that's basically it. So you can pick a state park if you would like, pick a different one, or you can pick a natural area, or you can pick a town or a piece of property you own or whatever. But put together a trail map. If it's your property and you don't have a real trail map, you can use the drawing menu and you can draw lines where you would like to have a trail someday, and then save those as a feature and so forth. Anything you have trouble with, we'll go over this. Ask me questions. We'll have a couple of weeks to work on this. So be thinking about a place, be getting started. And I'm going to post another video here tomorrow that will also show you how, if you like, you can take this basic map and enhance it even further. So anyways, that's it for now. Thanks, and see you later.